Exposed, how a billionaire's heartwarming love for his maid transformed everything in 6 months. Tom Reynolds had everything, a sprawling mansion, luxury cars, and enough money to buy the moon if he wanted. But in the quiet echo of his marble-floored hallways, a darkness loomed. Since the death of his wife 2 years ago, his world felt hollow. The champagne toasts at lavish parties rang with a clink but no joy, leaving a bitter taste in his mouth. Days turned into years as he buried himself in his cutting-edge tech company, while around him, laughter faded and warmth vanished, leaving only silence. Then there was Maria, his maid, a single mother doing everything she could to give her 2 children hope in the picturesque suburbs of Oakwood. Every day, she would sweep through his enormous estate, tending to the rubble of his heart with an infectious spirit that cut through the stillness. Her laughter floated through the air, embracing each corner of his lonely home like a warm blanket. They shared short talks in the kitchen over coffee and crumbs, her stories of resilience and hope becoming snippets of light in his shaded life. One day, "They'll be proud of us," Maria would say, her eyes twinkling as she spoke of her kids. Her unwavering spirit slowly chipped away at the emotional walls Tom had built around himself. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, as the autumn leaves began to fall, a storm brewed outside of Tom's isolated paradise. An economic downturn swept through the community like wildfire, and he watched helplessly as fear stole the light from Maria's smiling face. He witnessed her neighbors banding together, sharing meals and resources, proving that in struggle lay strength and connection. Tom stood at the corner of his world, realizing that despite all his wealth, he was missing the depth and warmth of community, something Maria embodied. Driven by inspiration, Tom decided to bridge the chasm between their worlds. It was time to throw a community event aimed at sparking equity and understanding among the residents of Oakwood. But as the plans progressed, backlash began to boil. Doubts and suspicions infiltrated the minds of the very people he sought to help, shaking his confidence and straining his relationship with Maria. In their beautiful kitchen, where food mingled with laughter, misunderstandings started to fester. Conversations turned tense, laughter grew scarce, and heartbreak began to cloud Tom's heart. Just as love appeared on the horizon, the chasm of privilege seemed insurmountable. Tom realized that each passing quiet moment echoed the depth of feeling he had for Maria. He stood at the edge of a precipice, heart racing, facing a truth he'd long avoided. As he prepared to fight for the connection they'd forged, the clock ticked ominously. Would he reach out to Maria before it was too late, or would his wealth blind him to the sacrifices she made every day? As he wrestled with this weighty question, the road ahead was uncertain, and the stakes had never been higher. Tom stared out of the window, the crisp air swirling in a dance of orange and gold leaves outside the mansion. The community event had been planned to show his commitment, but instead, it felt like a fragile thread hanging by a thread. How could he set things right? He needed to reach out to Maria, to apologize for letting his world crash into hers. She was finishing her shift, and he found her in the kitchen, wiping a fading sunbeam from the counter. Without thinking, he stepped inside, heart pounding. "Maria, can we talk?" She looked up, her smile wavering. "Sure, Mr. Reynolds. What's on your mind?" It was the formality that stung. Tom took a deep breath, remembering her laughter and the light she brought into his life. "I know the plans for the event have caused some tension. I didn't mean for it to come between us." Maria folded her arms, her expression guarded. "You're trying to do something good, Tom. It just feels overwhelming. Not everyone wants help. Sometimes, it feels like you're trying to fix something that's not broken." The air between them was thick, filled with unspoken words. Tom felt a pang of regret. I thought it could unite us. But I see now that I've made things worse. I truly just wanted to offer a sense of belonging. Her eyes softened slightly. Belonging doesn't come from events or money. It comes from connection. From understanding each other. Tom stepped closer, feeling the pull of her spirit. I want to understand. I'm not just a billionaire. I'm a man who has been lost, and you've helped me see that. Silence hung in the air, the truth lingering between them. Maria shifted, and for a moment, he saw the flicker of hope in her eyes, but then it dimmed. You have to realize, Tom, what it's like for those of us who struggle. Some people will resent you for wanting to help. Others will be grateful. It's complicated. A rush of frustration flared within him. Why does it have to be complicated? I want to do something meaningful. I want to show gratitude for all you've done for me. Maria's brows knitted together. It's not about gratitude, it's about respect. You've lived in a world filled with privilege, and we're fighting just to survive. We want to be seen, to be valued, not just as charity cases. Her words struck Tom like a blow. To him, she was so much more, she had awakened the part of him that had been dormant. Then let us make it right. Let us work together. We can create something where everyone feels valued. She hesitated, eyes searching his. There was uncertainty, but also a flicker of belief. It won't be easy, but if you're really committed I'll help you. Relief washed over him. He took a deep breath, realizing that facing the truth was just the beginning. This journey would be uncomfortable, full of challenges, but it was necessary both for him and for Maria. As they stood together, a warmth began to bloom where there had been fear. The hope rekindled its light, but the shadows from the past loomed large. Would he truly be able to fight against the currents of misunderstanding? And would Maria stand by him when everything he took for granted was challenged? For the first time in years, Tom felt a flicker of excitement mingled with terror. They were on the brink of something transformative, but he knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. And as he looked into Maria's eyes, he couldn't help but wonder whether together they could bridge the chasm that threatened to pull them apart. What awaited them on the other side? The next few days blurred into a whirlwind of activity. Tom found himself diving headfirst into ideas, brainstorming with Maria late into the evenings. They set up a series of community meetings to listen to voices that had often been silenced, gathering ideas from everyone willing to share. It felt invigorating, like taking deep breaths after being underwater for too long. Every meeting brought new faces, and with them, new stories. Tom listened intently as lives unfolded before him, struggles and triumphs, heartbreaks and joys. Maria remained at his side as they navigated this raw terrain together. He could see the way she lit up when someone shared a particularly meaningful experience, her eyes sparkling with empathy. It was infectious, but as the days turned into weeks, Tom noticed something shifting between them. The laughter they once shared felt tinged with a deeper understanding, a connection that surpassed their previous roles. Yet, with each passing moment, a knot tightened in his stomach. He wanted more than friendship, but would Maria ever see him beyond the walls he had built up? One evening, after the last meeting of the week, they lingered in the dim light of the kitchen, the aroma of fresh coffee hanging in the air. Tom poured them both a cup, forcing the silence to break. You know, he began cautiously, I feel like we're making real progress. The community seems alive again. Maria smiled, the corners of her mouth lifting, but didn't meet his gaze. It's a start. People are beginning to feel heard, and that's important. But we have to keep our feet on the ground, Tom. He placed the coffee cup down and stepped a little closer, letting the warm steam surround them both. Maria, I appreciate everything you've done. You've taught me so much about humility and connection. His heart raced. I can't help but feel there is something more brewing between us. She looked up sharply, her expression shifting. Tom, there was hesitation, uncertainty simmering in her eyes. It's not that simple. You're a billionaire, and I'm just Maria, he interrupted, taking a step further. The woman who has opened my eyes to the world I was oblivious to. It's not about the money, it's about what we're building together. You matter to me. More than you know. She looked away, her lips tightening. But it could complicate things. You might not understand the risks. Maybe that's the point. I want to take those risks, he replied, desperation creeping into his voice. I want you in my life, really in my life. Not just as a partner in this project, but as someone I care deeply about. Her breath hitched, a wave of emotions flashing across her face. Tom, you have to realize the weight of what that means for my world. It's not just complicated, it's uncharted territory. He took her hands, grounding himself in her warmth. Let me navigate it with you. We can figure it out together. A muscle in her jaw tensed as she wrestled with the idea. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the sound of a phone ringing cut through the moment, shattering their fragile connection. Tom's stomach dropped as he pulled his phone from his pocket, his heart racing for a different reason altogether. The name that flashed on the screen sent a chill through him. It was his father. He hadn't called in months. Tom. Maria's voice pulled him back, concern etched into her features. You were going to say something. And she was right. He shook his head, unwilling to admit the two roads diverging in front of him. The past was pulling at him, and the future with Maria was still just out of reach. Everything will have to wait, he replied, answering the call, but the moment lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken words and looming choices. Could he truly balance the weight of his past with the hope of his future? Would Maria stand by him when the hardest decisions had to be made? Tom. It's about time you picked up, his father's voice barked through the phone, thick with impatience. Tom frowned, feeling the weight of familial expectations settling on his shoulders. We need to discuss the Foundation's finances. You've been too distracted lately. With every word, Tom's resolve wavered. His father had a way of cutting through anything that mattered, reducing complex emotions to business as usual. Yeah, I've been busy, Tom replied, struggling to keep his voice steady. But it's for a good cause. We're working on community outreach, helping people who need it. His father scoffed. That's all well and good, but it's not what we need to focus on right now. You're the face of this family legacy, Tom. You can't afford to get lost in idealism. The pain of frustration flooded Tom's veins. He glanced at Maria, who was watching him, her expression a mix of concern and apprehension. He wanted to show her the man he was becoming, one who wasn't just a billionaire, but a person willing to invest in something deeper. I can't just abandon this work, Dad. I care about these people. Caring isn't enough, his father said harshly. You've got obligations. You need to get your priorities straight, or this entire venture will crumble. Remember what happened to your mother when she went against the grain. Tom couldn't bear hearing his father's admonishment twisted into a weapon. I'm not her, he said, his voice low and firm, the words clinging to the air. I'm not going to let fear drive my choices. Maria's eyes widened, as if she understood suddenly what he was facing. He could feel her silent encouragement, a grounding force in the chaotic whirlwind pulling at him from both sides. For a moment, there was clarity beyond the shadows of doubt. Your reputation matters, Tom, his father pressed, the authority in his tone unyielding. Think about the board, think about our patrons. No, he snapped back, a rising urgency in his chest. I need to think about what matters to me, and right now, that's not money or reputation. It's listening to the community and working alongside people who actually need help. I won't sacrifice that for something that feels hollow. We're done here, his father said, voice icy. Don't expect me to support this madness. As he hung up, a suffocating silence enveloped them. The space between Tom and Maria felt electric, charged with unacknowledged truths. He felt raw, stripped of the armor he usually wore against that type of stress. Tom, Maria finally said, her voice soft. Are you okay? He let out a shaky breath, trying to steady himself. No. Not really. He turned to her, the weight of their earlier conversation crashing over him again. I wish I could have said more. I wish I could fight against everything my father represents. Her hand reached out to touch his. You found your voice, and that matters. But, what's your plan moving forward? The question lingered, teasing the edges of his resolve. Tom felt the tug of not just his family's legacy but the possibility of building something real with Maria. He didn't have all the answers, but standing there, he realized he didn't want to face the unknown alone. Maybe we could rally more support, he said, looking into her eyes. Get people involved. An event. Show them what this vision can be. Her expression shifted to one of determination. I think that's brilliant. We can showcase real stories, real impact. Let people see they matter. He smiled, igniting a spark of hope in the heaviness of their moment. Exactly. And maybe his voice faltered slightly, but he pressed on. Maybe that includes changing how we think about power and influence together. Maria's gaze softened, confidence building in the warmth of their connection. But before he could bridge the gap and say what was in his heart, her phone buzzed urgently. Sorry, I need to check this, she said quickly, a shadow of worry flickering across her face. Tom took a deep breath, feeling the uncertainty creep back in. He had moments of clarity, but it was becoming evident that the path ahead was far from straightforward. Take your time, he replied, though his heart raced with the knowledge that this might be the moment of truth for both of them. Would they pave a path together, or would the external pressures continue to pull them apart? The one thing he knew for sure was that they both had decisions to make, ones that would redefine everything they knew about each other. Tom watched as Maria turned her attention to her phone, the radiant spark between them dimming slightly. He could feel the air grow heavy, saturated with unspoken words and shared dreams that now teetered on the edge of uncertainty. She glanced up, disappointment flickering in her eyes. It's just work, I'll be quick. He nodded, though his chest felt tight. While Maria's distraction redirected her focus, Tom's mind spiraled. What did this phone call mean? Would the familiar shadows of the Foundation's demands smother the nascent light they had begun to cultivate? As Maria stepped away to take the call in a quieter corner of the room, he found himself pacing the small space. The walls felt like they were closing in. He tried to picture the event they had discussed, a rally, a gathering of like-minded people who could breathe life into their vision. The thought of it sent a surge of ambition coursing through him. Yet doubts loomed. His father's voice echoed in his mind, worry and disapproval intertwining like a storm cloud over his thoughts. Tom. Maria's voice broke through the haze. He turned to see her walking back, her brow furrowed. Sorry about that. No problem, he said, forcing a smile. But inside, he was battling a wave of anxiety. He wanted to reach out to her about the vision they shared, but he couldn't quite shake off the fear of falling short. Something's come up, she said, her tone lighter but a bit strained. I need to meet with some community leaders tonight. They're in town for a charity initiative, and tonight? His heart sank. What about us? What we were going to do? The plans, it's all starting to feel so fragmented. I know, Maria said, her gaze softening. But this is important. It's a chance to connect with people on the front lines of community work. Just think how we can tap into that for our event. Right. Sure, he replied, but the disappointment lingered. He stepped back a little, feeling the distance creep in. I want to support you, I really do. It's just it feels like every time we're close to something amazing, something pulls us apart. She reached for his hand again, gripping it tightly. We're not apart, Tom. We're just navigating some rough waters. But we can figure it out. I promise. He nodded, though uncertainty gnawed at his guts. Her phone buzzed again, and she glanced at it apologetically. I should take this, it might be important. Tom couldn't mask the feeling of solitude enveloping him as she walked away again. He watched her through the window, the daylight fading around them. What was he doing? He couldn't just wait on the sidelines. He had to be more than a passive player in either his father's world or in the community outreach he yearned to embrace. It was time to step into the fray, with or without the foundations of his past. His mind raced with ideas as he pulled out his laptop. Maybe he could draft a proposal for the rally. They could present it to the community leaders later. As he typed, thoughts pouring out in a mixture of hope and urgency, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was the start of something bigger, something with the potential to shift everything. But just as he hit send on an email, Maria returned, her face pale. Tom, there's something I need to tell you. Her expression turned grave, and he felt the anxious knot deepening. What's wrong? We might need to make some difficult decisions together. A chill ran through him. What did that even mean? The fears he fought against moments ago came rushing back. His heart raced, uncertainty looming larger. Was their future about to change in a way neither of them could anticipate? Could he truly stand firm against everything threatening to unravel the bond they were just beginning to explore? Tom felt the weight of Maria's words, a sudden gravity anchoring him in place. Decisions. Difficult ones. The thrill of hope he had felt moments before quickly soured, a bitter taste clawing at the back of his throat. What could possibly demand such severity? Difficult decisions? He repeated, his voice quieter than he intended. She nodded, her jaw set as if bracing herself for impact. There are some issues with the funding for the charity initiative. The foundation, they're making cuts. It could affect the project we were hoping to partner on. His heart sank deeper. So, we're not just talking about responsibilities. We're talking about our future, aren't we? Tom, listen. This might change everything, he echoed, frustration bubbling up through his chest. What about our plans? Our dreams? I understand how important this is to you. Her eyes softened, but he could see the conflict swirling in them. But if the foundation pulls out, we might not have the resources to hold that rally. Or worse, we might have to prioritize what? The foundation's interests? His voice rose, thick with desperation. You've always wanted to help the community, to make a real difference. And now you're talking about letting that go? Maria took a step closer, her face earnest. I'm not saying we should abandon it. But we need to face the facts. There are pressures from all sides, financial, political. We're up against a lot. He wanted to scream, to shake her and make her see. How could she not recognize what this meant? With every word she spoke, the dream of what they could become felt more fragile. Maybe I've been naive, he said, forcing the words through clenched teeth. I thought we were on the cusp of something powerful. She reached out again, resting a hand on his arm, her touch grounding him slightly. We still can be. This is just a setback. We can pivot, find another way to engage the community, but are you saying you'd choose their agenda over ours? Over what we built together? The emotion spilled over, raw and unbridled. No. Tom, please. Her voice was thick with emotion now. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about survival. He felt the air shift, a mix of tension and underlying fear creating a rift he didn't understand. Maybe survival isn't enough for me, he murmured, the weight of his own thoughts crashing down. Maybe I need to fight for something more. She searched his eyes, her expression pained and conflicted. And what does that mean for us? The question hung heavy, almost suffocating. He could see the doubt creeping in her gaze, and in that moment, he understood. It wasn't just about the cause anymore. It was about them, the heart of everything they wanted. I don't know, he said finally, surrendering to the uncertainty that loomed like a storm cloud. But I know I can't lose you. Not in this battle. With a determined nod, she squeezed his arm tighter, her courage sparking the hope flickering between them once more. Then we'll face it, together. But just as relief washed over him, her phone buzzed again, another reminder of the demands waiting for her, a call that sucked the warmth back into the shadows. Tom, I really need to take this, she said, glancing at the screen. Of course, he replied, forcing a nod. But his chest tightened at the thought of their dreams slipping further from reach. As she walked away, his heart ached with questions. What would happen if she prioritized the foundation? Would they stay united, or were they destined to drift apart in the currents of life? He needed to take action. There had to be a way to bridge their visions before it was too late. With that thought burning in his mind, Tom began to pace again, a plan forming. He had to regroup, reach out to the community leaders himself. Soon, he would show Maria that he would fight for both her and their dream. Would it be enough? The questions flickered like fireflies in the dark, illuminating paths he hadn't thought to consider. One thing was clear, he couldn't wait for answers. He needed to make a choice. And with the stakes higher than ever, he knew the next move could change everything for them both. Tom took a deep breath, his mind racing with possibilities. He glanced toward Maria, still engaged in her phone call, her brow furrowed in concentration. Each word exchanged with the foundation representatives felt like another nail driven into the coffin of their shared dream. The way she leaned into the conversation, earnest and focused, sent a wave of emotion through him. This wasn't just a fight for a project, it was a fight for their future together. He began to pace the small office, his thoughts a tangled mess of worry and determination. Fighting for their dream meant more than just wishing for things to change. It meant doing the work, reaching out, and rallying others to their side. Just the thought of forming a new strategy ignited a flicker of hope within him. If there was one lesson he had learned in life, it was that the community held the power. And in offering help to one another, real change could take root. He moved to the window, looking out at the street below. A couple down the block laughed as they walked hand in hand, and children rode bikes in the park. The very essence of community thrived in the laughter and resilience of those around him. He understood that they were the heartbeat of what he and Maria wanted to create. But time was running out. He remembered the meetings he'd attended, leaders passionate about local issues. What if he reached out to them now? Sent an email? Reached out on social media? The thought surged through him like electricity, the potential felt limitless. With every moment that passed, Maria fought her own battle against the demands of the foundation. He would not let their dream die while waiting for someone else to act. Tom picked up his phone, his fingers flying over the screen. Hey, I'm organizing an urgent get-together with community leaders, he typed fiercely. We need their voice to rally support. Can you all meet tomorrow? His heart pounded as he hit send, each vibration of the device in his hand a little pulse of hope. One by one, replies started to come in, a few enthusiastic yes mixed with tentative maybes. He felt a swell of excitement. He had started something tangible, something alive that could bridge the dissonance between their hopes and harsh reality. Just then, Maria walked back toward him, her expression a mixture of relief and hesitation. I didn't mean to leave you with so many heavy thoughts, she said softly. I think we need a backup plan, she continued, her voice lower, almost afraid to say the words aloud. Maria, he interrupted, urgency spilling from him, I have a plan. I reached out to community leaders. We're meeting tomorrow. If we can gather support, maybe we can shift the foundation's focus back to what matters most, our rally, our mission. Her eyes widened, surprise flooding her features. You did what? Tom, that's incredible. The warmth of her smile sent an exhilarating rush through him, the briefest glimpse of hope flooding back. Yeah, but he took her hands. We need to be aligned. I need you on board with this. I can't do it without you. I can't keep fighting for a dream we both envisioned together if you're still weighing the Foundation's interests. Maria's face fell for just a flicker, and Tom felt the gravity once more. I've just been trying to think about our future. He squeezed her hands tighter. And I can feel you working hard for it. But we have to make it feel real right now together. Tom watched as she battled with herself, the frustration melting into contemplative resolve. Her brow furrowed again, but this time it was from determination, not fear. I want that, she finally said. I want to help, to make this work our work. They shared a moment of silence, a soft understanding settling between them. But then, just as the warmth started to deepen, her phone buzzed again, slicing through the air once more. Another priority call, she sighed, exasperation etched on her face as she glanced at the screen. I need to take this. And while she stepped away, Tom's heart sank again. Each call she took felt like a thread pulling her from him. And their vision. He raised his head to the ceiling. This wasn't just about funding or meetings, it was about how hard they had to fight for their connection to stand strong against everything. Feeling a renewed sense of urgency, he whispered to himself, I can do this. We can do this. But deep within, he felt the underlying fear creeping up. What if it wasn't enough? Would Maria's commitment waver when faced with harsh expectations? What if they lost sight of the love that fueled their passion? He couldn't shake the weight of the questions as the light in her eyes dimmed every time a phone rang. Was fighting for their future going to be a battle on all fronts? As the tension settled back around him, Tom once again found himself at a crossroads. Could love truly conquer all obstacles ahead? And was he willing to risk everything to find that out? Tom tapped his fingers nervously against the desk, the sharp sound ricocheting off the walls like a heartbeat. The office felt small and stifling, the weight of unspoken words filling the air. He stole a glance at Maria, still wrapped up in her call, the glow of her phone illuminating her furrowed brow. Each moment stretched painfully, and while he wanted her to succeed, he couldn't shake the gnawing fear that with each conversation she had, they drifted just a little bit further apart. The buzzing of his phone interrupted the silence. A reply from one of the community leaders. I'm in. Let us spark this change. A surge of excitement coursed through him. It felt like a lifeline thrown into a turbulent sea. He quickly composed another message, expressing his gratitude, and sent it off. Each response felt like one more brick laid in the foundation of their dream. Maria ended her call and turned back to him, her hair falling over her face as she exhaled deeply. Sorry about that, I know it feels chaotic. I'm just worried, she trailed off, her cheeks flushed with an emotion he couldn't quite place. What's the worry? He asked, momentarily forgetting his own turmoil. She looked at him, vulnerability shining through her usually steadfast demeanor. What if this all falls apart? What if I'm dedicating time to something that ultimately leads us nowhere? Tom's heart sank. That's what I'm trying to prevent. We can't let fear dictate our actions. This meeting tomorrow, it's our chance to turn things around. But what if this isn't enough? She whispered, her eyes glistening. What if the Foundation's focus doesn't shift, and we lose everything we've worked for? He stepped closer, reaching for her hands once more, desperately wanting to pull her back to him, away from the precipice where uncertainty loomed. We won't lose anything. Not if we stand together. This is our dream and it's worth fighting for. Her expression softened but remained clouded. I want to believe that, but it's hard, Tom. It feels like we're running out of time. And what if this is our breakthrough? Tom's urgency surged. What if bringing in the community shows the Foundation how vital our vision is? We're not alone in this. She nodded slowly, but he could still see the hesitation lingering in her eyes. Tom took a deep breath, his next words heavy with conviction. Maria, don't let fear cloud our love. Every obstacle can be transformed into fuel for our passion. At that moment, the door swung open, and an old friend of Tom's stepped in. Jack, with his easy grin and infectious energy, was a burst of sunshine in a room too filled with shadows. "Hey, you two. I heard there's a rally brewing. Thought I'd come lend my voice." Maria's eyes brightened slightly, but Tom felt a brewing storm. "We're working on something a bit more significant than just a rally," he replied, keeping his gaze fixed on Maria, trying to pierce through her hesitation. "But that's how real change starts, right?" Jack chimed in, unaware of the tension swirling around them. "Getting people fired up, rallying support, it can create waves of change." "Exactly," Tom echoed, seizing the opportunity. "If we can show the foundation there's real demand, real community backing, it will make a difference. We just need to believe in it." "Right," Maria said, her voice barely above a whisper, but now there was a flicker of determination present. "I want to believe in this." As they discussed logistics, enthusiasm started to break through her clouds of doubt. Tom couldn't help but feel hope lifting him, binding them. Yet in the back of his mind, the gnawing worry persisted. Would the foundation listen? Could they truly harness the community's power? The truth was, their battle was just beginning. And love alone might not be enough. With every commitment they made, every new voice that joined their movement, a new question lingered: could they find the strength to rise above their doubts and forge a future worth fighting for? Tomorrow was vital, tomorrow had to work. As the conversation flowed, Tom caught Maria's gaze, her eyes now glimmering with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "What if the community surprises us?" he asked, holding on to that thread of optimism, but before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. The screen lit up with a message from the foundation, urgent and demanding. Tom felt his heart drop. "Do you need to take it?" he asked, dread pooling in his stomach. "Maybe," she said reluctantly. With that, Tom's pulse quickened. Would this call push her even further from him, from them? As she stepped away, his heart ached anew with the pressing weight of their shared dream wobbling on the brink. Could this really be the turning point they both needed? Or would it just be another nail in the coffin of their aspirations? Tom clenched his fists as Maria turned away, her focus shifting entirely to the screen of her phone. He watched her brows knit together in concentration, the light from the screen casting shadows over her features. A tightness gripped his chest, gnawing at the silver linings they had just begun to forge together. Time seemed to stand still. He could feel the weight of their dreams hanging in the air, tangled up in the unresolved tension between them. He wanted to scream, to shake her and make her see that hope was more powerful than doubt, but all he could do was stand there and wait. As she finished her call, she turned back, her expression serious. "That was the foundation. They want to meet today instead of tomorrow." "What?" The shock hit him like a cold wave. "Why the sudden rush?" She shrugged, her lips pressed into a thin line. "They said they have some updates they'd like to discuss. Something about our proposal, it needs to be framed just right." Tom could feel the ground beneath him shift. "This is it, then," he said, trying to steady his voice. "This could be our opportunity to show them we're serious. Or it could be a disaster," Maria shot back, frustration creeping into her voice. "They might be called because they're not sure if they want to move forward with us at all." Tom took a step closer, his eyes searching hers. "Let us not think like that. We have passion and we have the community behind us. We can't let their uncertainty dim our fire." "But what if our passion isn't enough?" she countered, her breath hitching with anxiety. "What if they think we're just a couple of dreamers?" "Then we'll show them we're dreamers with a plan," he asserted, his voice rising with resolve. "We can present what we've gathered, the support we've built. We have to put everything on the table, our hopes, our fears, our vision." He could see her wavering, a flicker of determination battling with worry. It was the first glimmer of light he had seen in her all afternoon, and he had to capitalize on it. "Maria," he said gently, softening his tone. The most significant changes in the world started off as incredible dreams. We can't let this chance slip away. Please, trust in what we're doing together. She hesitated, biting her lip, and the silence between them felt charged with unspoken possibilities. In those moments, Tom realized it wasn't only about the presentation or the community's support, it was about them, their resilience together. Okay, Maria breathed finally, her expression shifting from doubt to determination. We can do this. Let us show them what we've got. Tom's heart surged. Yes. Together, we can make them see. We'll just put our best foot forward. As they began to strategize, the energy in the room shifted. Ideas bubbled to the surface, and laughter filled the air, layers of tension peeling away like paint from an old wall. Every ounce of fear was met with a fresh thought, a powerful shared purpose. But soon, an unsettling thought crept into Tom's mind. What if the Foundation's reality was worse than their worst-case scenario? What if their dreams were about to crash down around them? Maria's phone buzzed again, breaking his train of thought. Their eyes met as she blanched. It's them again. They want to meet in 30 minutes. The urgency of the moment settled around them, and Tom felt his stomach twist. We have to prepare, he said, squeezing her hand. Just remember, no matter how it goes, we're in this together. With another nod, they plunged into action, fueled by the adrenaline of impending fate and the layers of uncertainty hanging in the air. As they gathered their notes, Tom's mind raced with what could go wrong. What if the Foundation rejected them outright? What would that mean for their heart and their dreams? Hey, Maria said, breaking into his thoughts, her voice steady now. We've come too far to turn back now. No matter what, we won't give up. He felt a mix of hope and dread swell within him. You're right. Together, we can fight for this, he affirmed, even as a whisper of doubt flickered in the back of his mind like the shadows. Growing longer across the room. As they hustled toward the door, determination aflame in their hearts, a single question echoed ominously: would the Foundation's response allow them to keep the dream alive? And just as they stepped out, a loud crack of thunder reverberated through the air. A storm was brewing. How fitting, or foreboding. But either way, they had to face what awaited them. Whatever happened next would change everything forever. The storm rattled the windows, wind whipping around Tom and Maria as they stepped out into the wild, unpredictable world that awaited them. Adrenaline coursed through Tom's veins, a mixture of hope and anxiety swirling in his gut. The fate of everything they had built together hinged on this moment. As they approached the Foundation's imposing building, the tension hung thick in the air. Tom's mind buzzed with every idea they had brainstormed. Remember, we stand united, he whispered to Maria, his voice steady even as uncertainty tried to creep in. He could see her heart quicken, but she nodded back, her resolve brightening his spirit. Inside, the room felt cold and sterile, the air almost electric with the gravity of their intentions. Foundation board members were seated around a polished table, their expressions unreadable. Tom felt the weight of hundreds of dreams resting on their shoulders, fear mixing with determination inside him. Thank you both for coming on such short notice, the chairman began, his tone devoid of warmth. We have reassessed our resources and priorities. Your proposal prompts some discussions we weren't expecting. Tom exchanged a glance with Maria, their eyes brimming with unsaid promises. She squeezed his hand tightly. This is it, he thought. They had poured everything into this moment, into the hopes of not only transforming their dreams but the lives of those around them. The chairman continued, we've noticed community engagement rising in Oakwood, which is crucial. But there are challenges we must address. Concerns about funding and potential conflicts. Each word felt heavy, resonating in Tom's chest like a tolling bell. But the new community vision is vital, he interjected, cutting through the tension like a knife. It's more than outreach, it's about creation and connection, about empowering the very people you expect to serve. Maria and I believe that true change begins with listening to the community's voice. Maria chimed in, her passion igniting the air, their stories inspire resilience. We've gathered support, seen excitement about engaging with real issues. We can tackle these challenges together, not just as a foundation and a project, but as partners for real change. The board members shared skeptical glances, but Tom didn't waver. He felt a familiar fire rising within him, the fervor that had sparked when he first met Maria. He believed, truly believed, that the power of the community could breathe life into all they dreamed. "Let us show you," he pressed. "Let us introduce you to the stories we found, real people fighting for their futures. We can present this at the rally we're organizing." The chairman frowned, but the glimmer of interest flicked across his gaze. A rally? So more visibility, then? Yes. Tom felt the rhythm of hope thrumming louder. Visibility and validation. Imagine local leaders, families, and children united to showcase their struggle and victories. They deserve a platform. This isn't just about handouts, it's about honoring voices that have long been ignored. A murmur washed over the room, some of the foundation's members leaning in just slightly. Maria's smile ignited again, and it was contagious. Slowly, Tom presented their plan, painting it in vivid colors, showing the importance of connection over charity, of respect over dictates of wealth. He could see the board folding into their words, minds slowly but surely cracking open to the vision they envisioned. Finally, reaching the end, he leaned in and added, "This is our chance to shift the narrative, showing that together, we can uplift the entire community. Let us not let fear or tradition bind us to what was, let us embrace what can be." Tension lingered like thunder before a storm, silence stretching in a taut line. Then, the chairman cleared his throat slowly. "We will need to discuss this further, but we see your commitment. There's potential here. We cannot ignore the voices of the community." Tom's breath caught in his throat. The urge to leap for joy surged forward, but he held back, knowing they weren't quite there yet. "Thank you," he replied, grounding himself. After they exited the room, Maria turned to him with a bright smile, her eyes sparkling. "I can't believe it. They actually listened." Tom couldn't hold back the grin that spread across his face. "This is just the beginning. We're building our dream, Maria." And just like that, everything felt lighter, the heaviness of uncertainty loosening its grip. They stepped out into the rain, the droplets mingling with their laughter, both of them realizing together that the struggle would always be there, but so would their love. Then, in that moment under the rumbling storm, Tom knew they could face anything ahead. They had begun to light a spark of change, rooted in love and resilience. It was powerful, it was pure, and it was just the beginning. This is what life was truly about. As they walked hand in hand, he vowed to not only uplift the community but to always uphold her by his side. And as they vanished into the rain-washed world, the storm turned into a clearing sky, the promise of something beautiful ahead shimmering through the clouds. Now, you have the power to carry this story forward. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our channel through these actions. Let us spread the light together.